And hello, dance friends. Welcome to Coffee Talk. This broadcast is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, and you can learn more at IDEADance.org. Today, our guests are Brittany Milan and Chasta Hamilton. Chasta is an author, studio director, and an entrepreneur. And I'll add to that a motivator of women, which I think is really important. And Brittany Milan, welcome, Brittany.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Brittany, you are from Minnesota, studio owner from Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Yes, I will. I would love to. Right now we live in Richfield, Minnesota. I grew up in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, in a really small town. It's about 7,000 when I was there, and I started dancing at my mom's dance studio, which was in the back of our house. It was very convenient. It was connected to our house, so we just would walk on through. And so I danced there growing up from when I was my mom's belly, because I think she started the studio while she was pregnant, actually. The first year she was pregnant with me when she started. There's lots of really fun pictures of her in her leotard. She looked great in it. I would not have pulled that off. She looked great in her leotard and her leggings and all that. And her belly. Then after I graduated there, I came to the University of Minnesota, got my degree in dance, and was going to just dance it out until I started teaching, just because I needed to make more money as a dancer, and I fell in love with it again. I think part of me was like, I'm not going to do what my mom did. I'm not going to do it just because my mom was doing it. I wasn't going to do it. I was only going to teach because I loved it, and I fell in love with it again. Along my journey, I ran into my now husband. We actually danced together in one of my friends' senior projects, and that's kind of how we met each other. And he's also a dancer. Ricky's a dancer. He has a tap dance company called Rhythm Street Movement. And so we have two little boys here in Richfield, Minnesota, Leonardo and Raphael. We have two little turtles and one dog, Chewy. So I have lots of little boy energy, and Ricky's little boy energy too. And they have lots of dance parties, and it's super fun over here.
And how long have you had your school?
10 years. This is our 10th year anniversary.
Oh, big celebration happening this year?
Yes, I have some fun ideas. We're definitely having more parties throughout the year. My biggest one is I'm going to put together a professional video of all the students from the studio, choreograph different sections, similar to what Terry did. Other people have done, where you take them out in the community, teach them choreography, and then film them in the community. But I want to do it on just a bigger scale and have everyone in the studio involved, and bring them to different landmarks of the Twin Cities area and film it. And then after the recital, we're going to have a party, and we're going to reveal the video at the party. So have a video release. So
I love it, Brittany.
Thanks. Yeah, I was like, I got to do something for this 10th year. And parties are fun and great, and celebrating is awesome, but I think that'll be a fun way for us to commemorate it. So
very cool. We're getting some comments. Ashley is here. Erin is here. We have Carolina Torres from Mexico. How cool is that? You're getting lots of congratulations on your 10th anniversary as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brittany, how were you affected by COVID, enrollment-wise, business-wise? How has the last year and a half been?
I feel actually like the beginning of this year was harder than last year. It's been okay. I think last year we still, we had a lot of kids and families who were like, we're going to stay home. We're a little nervous about this. We're coming back, but we're staying home. And so, I think we actually did great through it. We came up with lots of creative ideas, which I'm sure a lot of studio owners had to do. My favorite part about last year is we had an outdoor festival. It was so much fun. I cried like 100 times because I hadn't seen the kids' faces in forever. And I hadn't seen that many people together in a long time. And families hadn't seen each other in a really long time. So then that was their moment to like be together. And so we did a dance show outside in this beautiful stage and had everything from like raffles to food trucks to, it was more festival style. And if the weather here in Minnesota was great all the time, I would do it every year. But the hard part is like knowing if it's going to rain or not, or snow. You never know; it might snow at that time because it snows every month. It's been strange here. So yeah, that was great.
I want to say the coldest place I've ever been, the coldest temperatures were in Minnesota in my early 20s. It was like 23 below zero and the wind was blowing.
Oh, it's so cold.
I don't know if they're stalactites or stalagmites, the things that grow out of the ground in the wind. The snow was forming. Oh, It was something I'd never seen before. But yes, you get the honor of the coldest place that I've ever been, my friend.
Yes, my mom calls it the tundra. It's very cool here.
But is it true or not that every kid in Minnesota pretty much dances?
There's so many kids here that dance. There's a lot of dance. This is a huge dance community. Like, yes. Yes. Or if they haven't done it yet, they will, or everyone tries it. Everyone tries it for sure. It's a really big dance community.
That's what I think about the state of Minnesota. It's also not only the coldest community, but some of the largest schools, enrollments.
Yes. Huge schools, huge schools. So yeah, it's fun to be around such a like great dance community.
Are you feeling this comeback? Is it are you pulling more students back in, or is it in a lull? What is it like right now for you, enrollment wise?
Enrollment is a little bit like the same for us. I was expecting like more of a rush, I guess, at the beginning of the year, but the fun part is that the kids that are enrolling in multiple classes.
Very cool.
They're like, I want to do more things. If I'm coming here for 1 hour, I want to actually not come for just 1 hour. I want to do 2 classes back to back, 3 classes back to back. So I worked really hard at like making my schedule that way, even more so this year. And that's helped yeah, the average student is taking 2 to 3 classes, which is great. And that part has gone much, much better. It's just getting some of these new people in the door. For me, I think I reached out to a lot of people who hadn't been to the studio since before COVID. And that was helpful, just calling them on the phone and saying, hello, we miss you. And they're like, oh, you know what? We weren't even thinking about that, but yes, we would love to come. So it's really good to just check in with them, because I did get a few people saying that, like, you know what? Yes, well, we want to come back to dance. We'll find a time to make that work. So that part's been great, but it's I think for us, it's been a slow, gradual, getting back to normal.
The new normal.
The new normal.
Very cool. I'm going to bring on Chasta in a moment. And while we do that, we'll switch over. I'm going to run this brand new commercial that we have for the Dance Life Teacher Conference. We will be back with you in 1 minute. I am excited about that. We are going to bring the 22 conference back to the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and we would love to see many of you there. Welcome, Chasta Hamilton.
Hello, good morning. So excited to be here today.
I'm excited to have you, my friend. You bring great energy to the conversation. For those who may be viewing today who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, Chasta.
So my name is Chasta Hamilton, and I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. I am the founder and CEO of Stage Door Dance Productions. We are a dance studio for ages 2 to 18 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Formerly, I ran the Dance Exec, which was a blog series from 2013 to 2016. Realized we needed to do a major business rebrand in 2015, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So I passed that on to 22 Ticks and got down and dirty in my own business and, got the ducks in a row. And in that process, wrote a book, did a TED Talk, launched a nonprofit, and survived COVID and had a baby last year or this year, 2021. So, just on the go, but I love it. And I love the energy of our industry. And I'm so excited to connect today.
I am excited, but I have to stop. Tell us about your baby. You have a little boy, right?
I do. I have a little boy. He was born on May the 4th, and his name is Sebastian. We call him Bash. I always say he's so energized, and unless he's staying with my husband, and when he stays with my husband, he always naps. And my husband says, "What do you expect? He's just trying to match his mother's energy."
Good for you. I'm very happy for you and your husband. And I know that you decided to have a child a little later in life, right?
Yeah, very late. And, and to just be perfectly transparent, I will share this because I know we're a group of educators and a lot of mothers and a lot of moms. I had found out that I was pregnant right before the pandemic hit, early March 2020, and actually lost my first pregnancy in May of 2020. And I think that's important to talk about because so many of us, like I knew from my community that so many of us deal with that kind of loss and stress, and it's not talked about enough. So I'm just getting to a place where I feel comfortable sharing that piece of my story. But, by August, had a healthy pregnancy and spent 9 months, dealing with a lot of kind of external stress and managing that to try to make sure the pregnancy stayed healthy. And then welcome this little guy in May and just feel incredibly blessed to have the support of the businesses and to still be living this life that we love with a new addition.
Very cool. I'm so happy for you. Chasta, I know that your studio is very much performing arts focused rather than just 100% dance focused. What made you make that choice and what do you think are the benefits?
Yeah, so I always gravitated towards theater, right? Like I loved musical theater. I did the musicals in high school. My Fair Lady, Music Man, the standard high school fare, even though it's a little more contemporary these days. And I just loved that camaraderie and community. But at one point in high school, I did realize that I needed to focus on dance because that was really what set my soul on fire. And so then, in college, I was teaching, I would choreograph a show here or there. The business opened and, it was kind of just the industry standard that if you have a secular dance school, you do dance competitions and you do them well. And that's what we did. But I was missing that theatrical component. So I kind of worked my way back to theater, started choreographing and directing alongside the studio, and was so inspired by the fact that people would drop what they were doing. They would work all day, go to school all day, come in, work on these productions, be so kind and nice to each other in this community and camaraderie and focus on the end product. That passion really inspired me. And I wanted to take that kind of theatrical passion and drop that fire into the operation of our business. And that's what we did. And it sounds easy in those few sentences, but it was actually much more challenging in execution. But it's really nice to kind of see that synergy. And, you know, now our dancers are passionate. They love performing and doing theater or watching theater and thinking about those concepts that they can bring back into the space. So, you know, sometimes we become so dance focused that we lose like the beauty of all of these pieces of dance in the world. So however, like you kind of find that inspiration, whether it's the symphony or the ballet or film, whatever kind of makes your heart excited. Like, I think that if you can just drop that into what you do every day, it makes it even better.
I feel like it must make your studio more unique than the other studios around. Your ability to offer children more, am I right?
You know, I think so. And it was a journey to get there. In 2012, I have a friend that does a lot of leadership work with major corporations, and he wanted to practice and exercise. So he sat me down and he said, if you lined your studio up on a street with 12 other studios, what makes your house different than any of the other houses?
Ooh.
And at the time I was like, I'm a good dance studio, right? But it, like, that's what I said, because that was like the surface. I wanted just to be good. But it's like, what actually made me unique? I didn't really know. That was the early days. I like to think I've gotten a little bit smarter and wiser over time. Still learning, of course, but a lot of
I can guarantee you have become smarter and wiser, my friend.
But you know, it was enlightening, because I was like, I don't know, I offer ballet, tap, jazz, acrobatics like every other studio, and we do it good, and they all think they're good. So really nothing set me apart. And that was kind of that first little blip of, oh, like, what could we do to be better, to be truer to our vision?
Very cool. Brittany, you have any questions for Chasta in that area? But before you ask, I want to check in with those who are watching. Leave me a comment. Are you running performing arts programs, and are they successful in your studio? Go ahead, Brittany.
So all of what you're saying is very similar to like how I grew up too. I loved the musicals. And in fact, that's why my studio is called Elevé Performing Arts Center, because my goal is to kind of work towards that. We've had some like musical theater, some music classes in like piano, voice, and we're working towards adding more acting classes this year. So my question to you is, what was the first like step? What was your first step into changing it, into converting it to the Performing Arts Center?
Yeah. So my first step, and you know, really, it sounds like this really like amazing institution, but it truly is just what we started doing in 2009 with a little more intention behind what we do. And one of the things that taught me that was just getting more involved, like making connections with community theaters, bringing in the workshops, making connections in New York so that I can take my students there and build out workshops for them. Knowing the resources to have. So if somebody says, I'm auditioning for this play and I would really love a monologue or a song for my portfolio. So that's my passion. So I can nerd out on this stuff all day long, and it's fun. But people think of us as, well, yes, I can get excellent training in my dancing, but I also know that this is a person I can go to. And even if it's something that we can't provide, like, for example, we do not have like a vocal studio or anything. I wish we did, but I just haven't figured out the way. Well, I mean, especially, you know, with COVID and such. But I can refer out, like, you know, you build the network and the resources. So even if you don't have it, you can say, this is someone I would really like for you to speak to.
So I have a comment here that I thought was really cool. Angela Mota, she has a performing arts program that produces musicals every year, separate program from the dance program. And she writes, was working brilliantly before COVID hit, just beginning to start up again in 2022. It's actually, if we think about it, this comeback that we're having might be slower than we wanted it to be, but is a chance to reinvent what our schools are all about. So for those of you who are considering what changes you'd like to make, a performing arts program is not a bad concept. Just, I want to go somewhere else with you. Trash the trophies. Tell everybody what I'm talking about when I say that.
It sounds very aggressive, but it's kitschy. Kitschy is good. So Trash the Trophies is a book that I authored, and I have to say that this the action behind the book, it had always been sitting in my soul after we had stepped out of competition. So I will say the book is about our studio's decision to stop participating in dance competitions to kind of focus on this more holistic and humanistic model. It's set to the backdrop of the competitive dance industry, but it's truly a journey of personal and professional transformative leadership. Like, I recognize that my leadership was failing my organization, and it kind of talks about the steps that I took to kind of get that back on track. I had a thought that I was going, and I kind of went off on the pitch that I was giving.
I am glad I'm not the only one, my friend. Welcome to Coffee Talk.
and I mean, I've had several cups today too, but man, I completely lost where that was going. But anyway, I started working on this book because I was at Dance Studio Life in 2018. This is where I was going. And I just briefly mentioned it in conversation that we had stepped out of competition, and I was in the hallway, and this woman was speaking to me, and she said, I really wish I had the confidence to make a move to do something like that. She almost had tears in her eyes, and I could feel the pain that I had felt years earlier when I was weighing that decision. So I said, gosh, if I could like package this and just share my story. And I want everyone to know I'm not anti-competition. I believe in competition for the right reasons, but this is really just kind of an overview of my experience. And I thought if I could package that and it could help one other person, it would be worth it. So Rhee, you actually, unbeknownst to you, kind of gave the fire to get those words on paper, because that all kind of happened in the hallways at the Phoenician. And now, and I hear from so many people, dance people, I've heard from someone in the NBA, like this story really goes beyond just dance. And it's something universal. And a lot of people have made a lot of changes in their programs after reading the story. Nobody has done like exactly what I do, because I really do believe that like duplication doesn't really work. You're just copying what someone else has done. But you have to figure out, like, you can use it as inspiration and say, well, what can I learn from what she went through and drop it into what I'm doing to create something like really, really amazing.
And you reiterated there that you're not against dance competition. Have you got negative feedback to your book? I'm curious.
Yeah, some. I mean, there's always the challengers, but I think things become better when we have conversation. That's polite and challenging. But
that's unique in this country. What a great concept!
Yeah, that is a little, especially in the period we're living in, that is very unique. But here's the thing, and this is, a lot of people say, would you go back to dance competitions? And what I say is, I know I will never say never, right? I didn't think I was going to be a mother, and here I am with a beautiful child. But I do think there's opportunity for reform. I think there's opportunity for reform in the industry, and I think it has become complacent. It is doing what it has always done. And there's frustration. A lot of people sharing a lot of frustrations about things that are happening. And what, it boiled down to for me is my brand falls back on me and my name. And I have to be careful in what I select to tie that brand to. So people would be, clients would be very frustrated with these events. They wouldn't blame the event. They would blame the studio, whether they were winning or they were losing. So for me, it was a lose-lose in terms of growing and developing my business, which at the end of the day, that's the priority for me.
I'd love to hear opinions on what Chasta just said in our comment box. Very interesting.
I have a question. Can I?
Yeah, go for it, please.
I'm just curious, when you made that shift, like, did kids make that shift with you naturally, or I know there's always people that leave, but how did that go for you?
So in 2013 is when the idea first hit me, And I came to some of my leadership and I said, I want to leave competition. And they said, you have lost it. And I said, I don't think I have. I said, I actually think I'm onto something, but I will take 2 years to observe. So during the 2-year period, and this is kind of what the book goes into, I documented everything I was observing, what clients were sending, and kind of kept a pulse on what was happening. And then ultimately, when we did decide to stop, I sat every single client down, which was I actually tense up thinking about it because it was so uncomfortable, and just explained, we're going in a different direction, and that presented an invitation for a lot of people to maybe make a different choice. It invited 90% of the competition team to go elsewhere and several staff members to go elsewhere as well. And, at the time, did that sting? Yes, it did. But because I'd spent 2 years preparing for it, I was ready for it. And then, we were kind of like, well, here we are. We've created this new intensive training program. We have 13 kids, which was, measly. But where do we go and how does it grow? And I will say the following year, our enrollment overall increased 25%, which is huge. So even though that intensive training program was down, the bottom line was much stronger and much better. And then the COVID season, the 2020, 2021 season, our intensive training program stayed larger than our competition team ever was and continued to grow between 2019 to 2021.
Cool.
Uh-oh, Rhee, you're quiet.
I went out there for a minute. I was quiet, bringing myself back in. What does the intensive program do? What do you incorporate into this non-competitive intensive program?
Right.
That would be good for our listeners.
So I grew up as a competition dancer, right? And there were parts of it that I enjoyed as well. So it's, there are the good things. And I always said, when we create this new program, we have to make sure that we're not taking away, that we're still giving the children the good things that they gained from the competitive environment, but that we're making sure that we tap into a really strong return on investment so that we can look at our clients and we can say, yes, your investment in this program is good, and we'll put our own children in it, right? It has to be something that we can stand behind and believe in 110%. So we landed on 4 core values: technique, performance, community, and character. So at first, those were going to be just for the intensive training program. But now that's for our whole brand. Everything we do kind of follows those 4 things. And so first off, we had to figure out the technique should be there because we believe in excellent training. We don't do recreational and competitive. We just believe in good dance classes for everyone. So technique is there. Performance. Okay, so how are we going to perform? We have these regionals we usually do. We sometimes do a nationals. So I got on the phone, right? Calling museums, festivals, anyone, anywhere, the VA hospital, where could we perform? Because, truly, we want our students to be adaptable. And when we're putting these students in community performance opportunities, they're learning adaptability in any type of environment and circumstance. And you're also advertising your brand, right? Because at competitions, you really shouldn't be advertising your brand if you're being ethical. So it's a great opportunity for people to learn about who you are and what you do. So we were able, we average 4 to 6 of these performances per semester, and they don't cost our families anything. And a lot of times, when I'll call a festival and say, hey, are you taking performers? They'll say, well, what's your performance fee? They think we're getting paid. And I'm like, oh, no, we don't charge. We just want the opportunity for our students. But because they're used to working with bands and such, they're used to paying entertainers' fees. And then now your families don't have these exorbitant entry fees to pay. And they're also getting those same performance opportunities. We also wanted to have a capstone. So our capstone is our philanthropic component. So it's a peer-to-peer produced benefit show each season. So everything we've done, and we've done 5 so far, has resonated with a story in our community. So whether that's we did a preschool for students that have developmental delays because we have some dancers that attend that school. We're the Me Fine Foundation for some of our students that have received cancer treatment, comfort zone camp for students that have lost their parents. And now this year, this was something new because every year we're trying to elevate the program. We had students do pitches. So they had to find organizations. They came in front of the whole intensive training program at our retreat, and they pitched organizations that would mean something to them if we were to support them. And we picked 2. And their pitches were so eloquent because we're working on public speaking, we're working on leadership. So that's the character part. Sorry, I could go on for days. Slow me down.
What'd you pick?
Oh, for this year? So this year, we're supporting the Pretty in Pink Foundation, which is for women who are underinsured for breast cancer treatment. We have one of our graduating seniors, she lost her mom to breast cancer when she was in middle school, and her mom was very passionate about this organization. The other organization is called Gigi's Playhouse, and it's a developmental program for children with Down syndrome. And one of our students has a sister that has Down syndrome, and so she pitched it. And the intensive training program voted on, which ones kind of meant the most to them. And because they have to back this, they have to raise the money in order to get their group dances into the show. They have to do pitches. They have to put together the silent auction. They have to sell the tickets. And at the beginning, we realized that they just assumed like we were putting on the show for them to dance on stage. And then we were like, no, this is your time to tap into your leadership potential. Like you have to own this show. That's the capstone piece. And then generating that buy-in has been so good.
I love it. And I always say our goal should be to create good citizens. Okay. And when you take that using dance to do good for others kind of focus into your studio, the lessons that are being learned by the kids, their parents, and it changes their focus as to why they dance. And I wish that we could do more as the dance education community within our schools to teach our kids how to use their healthy body to share dance and move people and make it a better world. So that was a little speech I wanted to make. I'm all for that. And I'm all for hanging out with our students and finding out what means the most to them and picking something that really has a reason or a purpose for our group. Like you said, a mom who has passed, something that brings us all together to do good. I'm going to read this statement, then I got to go somewhere else with you, Chasta. This is from Angela. This is an interesting subject that I think a lot of dance studio owners would consider if they knew that it could work for their studio. COVID has hit our students hard. Many have lost some or all of their passion for dance. I agree with this statement, Angela. I find myself trying so hard to boost up our local performances for my studio. However, our community is a small one and opportunities are few and far between. Comments for Angela on that statement?
So Angela, I hear you. And I really think the buildup about, this passion, it's, we teach dance, but we have to also become motivators. And I also feel like this has been a period of time where things are so weighted and so heavy that we have to remind our students that dance and the arts are a tool for survival. And I did a TEDx talk this past spring, and it was called "You Weren't Built to Break." And it's all about how dance has allowed me to survive. It helped me navigate the loss of both of my parents in my childhood. It helped me get through this competition rebrand when I felt like my business was falling apart. And it helped us maintain our COVID resilience. But the communities don't necessarily intrinsically know and understand that because maybe they haven't experienced it. So it's our job, and this is something that I had to practice, it's to get a little more vulnerable and share your story, because we do this for such an important reason. And we need to tell people, and we need to remind them we're here. We don't just teach dance, we create the leaders of tomorrow in a huge capacity if we look at the number of children that we reach per year. So we just have to use our voices, not just to say, stretch your knees, point your feet, because we all say that too all the time. But to also say, dance is going to get you through this.
Got me through so much. That's all I'll say. So much.
It's hard to share the stories, right? Because you think about like all of the times like you were beaten down or in your like darkest moments, and the constant for so many of us. And that's why we work these crazy hours and live this crazy life, is because dance allows us to survive, and not only survive, but often thrive. But the kids have to hear us say that, because the schools aren't necessarily building them back up at the pace that I feel like they should. So I've just kind of taken it into my own hands. And with the performance opportunities being limited, we've gone to many different parking lots and just kind of created them,
Let's put on a show.
Yes.
That's what my mother was, very much that kind of person. Okay, let's just put on a show.
Exactly.
And while I'll say let's put on a show, I'm going to say it also should be geared and entertaining for your community, not all contemporary or whatever. Go out there and do a show that entertains and teaches our kids all aspects.
That makes them feel good.
Yes.
Agreed. It makes the audience feel good. Okay, I have to go somewhere because I want to make sure we have enough time. What is Girls Geared for Greatness?
So Girls Geared for Greatness was another idea, Rhee, that was born out of the Phoenician in 2018. But almost, I wasn't sure it was going to make it. Like, Girls Geared for Greatness I'll tell everyone what it is, but there was a moment where I was like, in the pandemic, that I was just like, this was a great idea, and maybe the universe is just saying, not right now. But so for, once we pulled out of competition, parents were saying, start a leadership program. Like, let's talk about leadership, executive functioning, project management. And I was like, whoa, my plate is full. But at the Phoenician, I sent out a message to my staff and I said, we're starting a girls empowerment program. So on the plane, on the way home, I was doing the whole outline, and we launched it that October. So the way it started is we did quarterly events where we would bring in strong, women mentors and things that they were accomplishing, entrepreneurs, artists, activists, basically showing. We open this to dancers and non-dancers. It's always free for the entire community to show, strong female voices. So it was great. We reached over 275 girls that first year. It's for ages 7 to 18. And people were saying, you could get funding for this. This could be really, really great. And I was like, you're right. Like, so, with this advisory committee, we decided to apply for it to be a nonprofit. So I don't know if anyone dealt with the IRS between 2020 and 2021, but things were significantly slowed down. So Girls Geared for Greatness kind of got caught in this IRS purgatory of status. And we finally we ran a digital series in the summer of 2020, which was fine, but really not true to the heart of the program. And also everyone was zoomed out. So I was just like, let's let it incubate. Let's put it on the back burner, which for a type A person, this was almost like a little mini failure. Let's let it incubate. Maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe we just won't. TBD. So we TBD Girls Geared for Greatness, because I really just needed to get the numbers at the studios back up, which I'm sure many of you can relate to. Mm-hmm. So the passion project sat on a back burner, and I was kind of working on this like modular program we got our status, and I said, okay, September 2021, we're going to relaunch, and we're going to try to go big. We're going to pilot something that wasn't even like what I initially thought I would do, but it's kind of where the world took us. But we opened up this pilot program, this modular concept, to any organization that wanted to participate. So we're working with a lot of studios and some private schools. So the program is totally free, and we do affiliate meetings. And it's basically a 20-week session. And there's a girls segment. This is phase 1. That's about the female experience of past, present, and future. The greatness section, which is your inner strengths and weaknesses and how you can use those to elevate and succeed. And the greatness segment, which is project execution, activation, and elevation. So studios are using this, private schools are using it. I think we have it in like 17 states and 3 provinces right now.
Awesome.
It's really amazing. So it's like thousands of girls that are being impacted. But what's so amazing, and our studio has an affiliate program going as well, is it's being guided and led in safe spaces with leaders and facilitators that they already feel a connection to. So it's creating these like inviting spaces to have this really meaningful conversation. So that's really exciting. And if anyone is interested, there's another series of phase 1 that'll start in January. So it's just girlsgearedforgreatness@gmail.com. And we can get you involved in kind of that program as well. And then there's going to be a phase 2, which will roll out next season, a phase 3 that'll come out in 2023. And our intent is that this will always be free and accessible. That's our hope, because it's you read about the mental health of teens. You read about just kind of all of this weird heaviness that's happening in the world, and it's needed. And we have an opportunity. And a lot of times people say, why just girls? And, girls were the majority of our audience, and girls do have specialized considerations, as do women, and women in business. 1 in 4 female-owned businesses have closed during the pandemic. There's a she session happening. How do we give, the youth today the knowledge to be stronger and more prepared moving forward? But, maybe we'll have a program for boys too. Who knows?
I'm all for your program for the girls. I mean, yes, it'd be great for the boys as well, because we have our own issues. I'll admit that. But I think young women need this. I think mature women that own businesses that I deal with, they need this. I know you gave an email address, but is there a website to learn more? Can we guide people there?
Yeah. So the website is girlsgearedforgreatness.com. It's a little in development. So it's very, it has the info, but it's a little, it's not quite to where it should be beauty wise, but it will be in a month or so. But yeah, it's all just Girls Geared for Greatness. We're on Instagram, Facebook. So you can definitely find us. But the feedback we're receiving so far, I know there's 4 programs that are running right now. And the feedback so far has been amazing. A lot of the people that jumped on are rolling it out in January. And, it's a great way to say, yes, like my business is strong and I'm teaching dance, but I'm going to do one thing better than that. And I'm going to cultivate these female leaders of tomorrow. And, my fire just keeps getting lit this past year, because we live in a condo, and I own the condo and I have excellent credit and can put the money down, but the housing market is crazy. So in 2020, I did cut my pay so that I could keep my staff employed, which I'm sure many of us did. But the mortgage companies will say, because the 2020 is lower than 2019, you do not qualify for a mortgage. So I finally just said, we're not playing this game. We'll live in our tiny condo until, we get past this. But it's like, we cannot let the systems make us feel bad for the choices of integrity that we chose to make. Like, I will not apologize for what I did, but I will be frustrated with this system that's penalizing us for being empathetic leaders, which the world needs more of.
I agree with you on that statement. And listen, that's not just a female issue. I too, when I was buying this property to build the retreat center, dealt with not having enough, is it W-4?
Yeah.
Even though I had the money,
Yeah.
I needed the W-4 stubs in order to get approved for this mortgage the normal way. And so, yes, I learned that lesson just like you did the hard way and started paying myself. But I found it really frustrating that I could show them 10 ways to pay for this, but it wasn't the way that they wanted.
It wasn't the way the system says is the way that
Right.
you should be. So because we do work in this, we're entrepreneurs, we're artists, we're all these things, and things are a little skewed. So I do want people to know, like, I hope you never feel secondary because of the institutions that society has created, because the power that we have is so much bigger. So anyway, I mean, I could talk all day about that, but I won't.
Got any, we're winding down a little, but this has been a great conversation. Got any questions, Brittany, or comments on this conversation?
No, I think now my gears are going.
Because you're geared for greatness.
Yes.
You're geared.
Yes.
And that's why we picked the name, was because every person is intrinsically geared to achieve their own greatness. It usually just has to be activated.
Wow.
Yes. I like that a lot.
This was an awesome conversation. I appreciate both of you. And I'm going to say I'm a guy and I feel empowered. So I'm hoping that all of the women who are watching, who are the leaders in our field, feel empowered and can go out there and make a difference. And know that making a difference doesn't mean you have the best dancers or the biggest school. Making a difference means you're having an impact on the lives that flow through your room, your classroom.
Oh, I do have one more thing.
Go.
So this is back to Trash the Trophies, but we do also have our teens. They wrote a teen discussion guide on what the book meant to them from their perspective. So we did this whole book club, and I didn't facilitate it, but we had an impartial person with no bias kind of facilitate it. And it just elicited a lot of great conversations too about teens and their mindset about winning and impact and what that looks like. So that's on my website, chastahamilton.com. So if you're interested in a book club, that resource is there too. But the pandemic has been a really good opportunity for me to say, how can we level up in our own house? How can we help others? So I'm grateful for it in a lot of ways.
This is because we have a hard time ending this. I have a comment on what you just said. It was, I think, an attitude of leveling up and for our community, dance studio owners. But I think when September rolled around and the reality of how hard this season was going to be, because I think as we came into the summer, we were like, wow, this is perfect timing for our schools to open in September. And I see this mood of, wow, I'm still dealing with it. So it's harder to level up right now, even more hard maybe than it was 6 or 8 months ago. But we do have to get there, and we will turn this corner. It just didn't work out to be last September, that's for sure. And I say this all the time, but I'm going to say it one more time. Don't think registration is over. Have an attitude of never-ending registration. Change the mindset. Come up with ways and programs so that you can take every student that would like to come into your school this season. Final words of wisdom, Miss Chasta?
Gosh, I don't know. It's, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. That dark cloud hit around August. And we have rematched our 2019 numbers, but it's like I told my staff from day one, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And our motto for this season, and I will share this in case you find it helpful at all, was it's time to stop operating in crisis, and we have to learn to function alongside the crisis. So how can we do what we do to meet the needs of our community, which are changing, right? We can't function like we were in 2019. That's not relevant. So what can we do in the now to say, hey, we're here, we're amazing, and this is a program that you actually have to have your child be a part of because it's that good.
Awesome. With those words of wisdom, we will end this broadcast. We'll be back with you in 2 weeks with another coffee talk, same time, same channel. Thank you, Chasta. Thank you, Brittany. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Tell your friends. And today's broadcast is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association. Learn more at I.D.E.A.dance.org. Thanks, everyone.